Knockout Punch, Michael B. Jordan's debut as a director. We're talking Creed 3, fully jumping into it. Spoiler warning if you haven't seen the movie, because there's two things that I need to mention, and in order to do so, I'm going to have to ruin parts of the movie. That being said, welcome to IJustWatched. Let's get into it. I love the first two Creed movies. Creed 2 is without question my favorite of the two, my favorite of the three. I can easily say that. That one, to me, has the best story, the best story arc, the best build, the montage, the fight at the end, the whole shebang, right? Hoping for a good movie. I was hoping for it to be on par with Creed, the first one. And honestly, I was kind of let down. And the reason for that is there's no mention, there's no reference, there's nothing to tell you why Rocky's not involved, why he's just ceased to exist in this universe he started. And he's such a vital character. He's Unc. Hey, yo, Unc. What's up, Unc? This is your goddaughter, Unc. The character is so heavily involved in the Creed family from the first two movies. They're a team, they're a dynamic. Not a single reference, they didn't mention he passed away. That's what I'm assuming, because it's been like 11 years or something. I can't tell how old Amara is, but she's a grown little woman. I'm thinking she looked like, maybe she's probably like 10, maybe 11, something like that. So I'm assuming it's been that long, because in the first one she was just born. In the second one she was just born. In that time frame, there's no reference or no mention or anything with Rocky whatsoever. Like, he just doesn't exist anymore. Nothing. And honestly, this movie, the character Donnie, felt completely different, almost like he backtracked, because everything he learned in the first two, he almost had to relearn. His relationship with Bianca, like, they didn't communicate anymore, but like in the first two movies they communicated decently well. So it felt off from the jump, just the way they were portraying Adonis. Now he turned, I guess maybe when he retired and went full business side, he started to change, but it felt off. It felt like a completely different character. But I say that because it didn't feel like the character had an arc that changed him. It just felt kind of like a new character, like this was the first time meeting this specific character, especially with the way they were trying to slide in the story behind him and Diamond Dame. The way they were like giving us that story and then letting it play out and such, it didn't work for me. It's not a bad movie necessarily, but I take that back. I think it's kind of a bad movie. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. We know how these movies go. There's a fight, you lose, you gotta get the comeback going. We get the dope ass montage that gets everyone pumped for the final fight, and then the final fight, the showdown, the big shebang, everything we're waiting for, the rumble in the jungle, so to speak. We get there. So the montage itself was just okay. It didn't really pump me up like the others do. Like, I was watching it like, okay, like, I don't know, it just felt off. I don't know what was missing, or something just didn't quite fit, and it didn't sell me or motivate me or get me pumped like the other ones usually do. And then the biggest fault is the final fight itself. They took me out of the fight too many times, trying to make it these creative pieces. Like, there's a part when he gets knocked back and then this gel bars appear and he hits it, and he's like, the way they're seeing each other. I think there was some of the creative ideas that they had for this movie just didn't work for me, and that's what really overall made me kind of not like the movie. Made me go like, yeah, I don't plan on rewatching it. I'd rather rewatch the first two. Definitely rather watch the first two, or hit me with the Rocky 1, 2, and 3 and 4. This one just didn't have that major oh shit moment in the fight. The fight didn't sell me because it kept taking us out of it to show us this creative aspect, and it just didn't feel as heavy as the other fights did. It didn't feel so consequential. It just felt lacking. It just felt very mediocre. And I think the reason this movie felt like that is because this movie is very much setting up the fourth Creed, which is clearly going to be about Amara and her journey into the boxing world, because they're setting her up to be a fighter. At the end, she's in the ring with her pops and stuff, and it was cool. Like, I like that aspect. I like where they're going with it, and I would be more excited for that if this movie was better. In trying to give us that setup for her story, this one lost attention and suffered. And then the other part, which is to me the best part of the movie, which is the saddest part of the movie, is the tragic part with his mom. That part was really sad. Like, she was talking to Adonis, and then she confesses because she starts seeing Apollo, and she basically thanks Apollo. She apologizes to Apollo and saying, it was Adonis who really helped me forgive you, because you left me. And that part was sad, but it was beautiful. That to me is the best part of this whole movie. Not saying that because anyone messed up the role or anything. Jonathan Majors did fine. He looked like a monster. Michael B. Jordan did fine. I even liked a lot of his shots and stuff, but really it came down to certain creative things that just didn't work for me for a boxing movie. Like, when you go watch the classic Fast and the Furious, you want to go fast afterwards. When you go watch a great boxing movie, you want to be a fighter. You're trying to train. You're pumped. You're fucking ready to go. And this one, I kind kind of left like, yeah, all right. All in all, it was a meh movie. It was not as great as expected, not as great as the setup looked, and it was a letdown, honestly. Not necessarily a bad movie, but definitely not rewatchable for me. Definitely doesn't have that wow factor to make me go, hey, you need to see this movie, it's amazing. To make me be like, yo, I need to watch it again to re-experience it. Another thing that didn't really make sense to me is Drago was like in his prime fighting, but he's like the same age as Michael B. Jordan. And Michael B. Jordan is old now in the fighting world. So it didn't make sense how Drago was now in his prime. If you've seen it, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to hear your thoughts. How do you feel about this movie? How do you feel about the Creed movies? Are you interested or intrigued on them giving us a fourth? I like the idea of building to Amara and giving us her story, but I am less for it in the sense that this movie suffered in order to try to set it up, I guess. Again, I want to hear your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. I love hearing from you. But until next time, stay safe, be well, y con mucho amor. Adios.